Hello everyone, so Iron Lad just released into the game, and Iron Lad is a 4-cost, 6-power card that has the incredibly strong on-reveal ability of copy the text of your deck's top card. And so this makes him a really flexible 4-cost that can slot into a large array of decks. Even if he doesn't get a good outcome from his pool, 4-cost, 6-power is still fairly solid. We saw how much that increase in Enchantress did in her viability and her playability, and now we have a 4-cost 6-power that can copy the strongest abilities in the game. And so I couldn't decide on just focusing on one deck showcase or one spotlight for this video, and so I decided I'm not going to. I'm going to showcase 5 different decks, 5 different games, all utilizing Iron Lad in some way, shape, or form. And so it's not like a normal showcase where maybe he gets used 1 or 2 times. This is going to be 5 different builds, 5 different uses from Iron Lad, all in your normal video time span. My initial impression is that he is incredibly flexible. I tried him in an array of builds, but my favorite one by far is in unison with cards like Jubilee, cards like Jeff, to be able to make sure that he can move as he wants to move, cards like Professor X to get an early lane lockdown. Just so much flexibility and viability in the cards that he can pull, and it does give your opponent some information of what your next card might be, but a lot of times that ability is so strong that it doesn't matter. And so we're not going to go through a brief deck explanation, but let me know if you like this style of showcase. Not every card is going to be viable in 5 different builds on day 1, but this one is. And so if the card is, let me know how you like this format in the comment section down below. But without further ado, we're going to go ahead and jump over into a couple of games. I hope you guys enjoy. All right, first up we have I Was, and we do start off with Iron Lad in our hand. So we're going to take a close look at all of the cards that we have left in our deck on turn 4. And honestly, we're probably going to send it regardless. Just the anticipation of being able to play this card is a little bit too much right now. And especially early on. Later on, I mean, 4-6, even if it doesn't hit a good result, is relatively fine. A 4-6, especially if it turns into like a Professor X, is massive. That is such a massive resource to have. Let's go ahead and play Groot. It probably doesn't proc anything here, but if not, that's okay. We're okay with that. It will get pulled over into Asteroid M. I think we may play, depending on where they play, we may play Iron Lad into mid to try to lock that down. We could also play it into Nova Roma if we don't draw into our Professor X. So here we have, I mean, we have 3 good outcomes, 1 not so fantastic outcome. These would all be fine. The Storm, the Spider-Man, the Professor X. The Lizard, not as great. It's not terrible, but it's just not quite as good. So let's go ahead and play the Iron Lad and see if we can get a lockdown. See if we can get a Professor X lockdown. If not, then we get a Storm, which is also fine. The 4-6 is just such huge value. So they do play for mid with the White Queen. So they get a copy of either Magneto or Doctor Doom. We don't know which. We copy Professor X, which is massive. One of the biggest reasons that I think this fits well into a control heavy deck, because now we have a second Professor X, and so with Jeff we can actually sneak into either one of these locations. And so if they outplay us, if they outflank us, they play for Asteroid M. Even though this is a little bit lower, we might be able to steal it away with the Jeff replay. We're hoping that they play into Sewer System. That is my hope. My hope is that they play something in Sewer System, not in Asteroid M, or if they play for Asteroid M, that it's really small. And so let's go ahead and lock in the Professor X mid. The only bad thing about Iron Lad is that he gives that telltale sign that the next card is what you top deck. And so we do get the second lockdown. I would not be surprised with a retreat here. We might even be able to sweep all 3 lanes, depending on what they play here, if they stayed. We're going to throw Jeff into mid, just in case they have a Jeff of their own, and then we're going to Enchantress to the left lane. What a way to start this video out. That is like my ultimate, that was my ultimate like play line in my head, is having a 4-6 Professor X early is massive. Not only are you getting good value, good tempo, but you're getting that lockdown early. It's going to be so hard to beat. Like, this could make a new no turn 6 for you deck incredibly viable. You do like that, you do a Professor X, or you do that, you do a Spider-Man. Even if this copies Spider-Man, you have Professor X in your hand, you can then follow up with Professor X and just make it so difficult for them to play. And we do get the retreat to come down. Now, I think Iron Lad fits pretty well into a lot of decks. I think he might fit into like a Spectrum ongoing deck, especially once Howard the Duck is here. So let's go ahead and take the 1 cube. We'll jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have Kerplunk. The first location is Wakanda Diplomacy. It does give us 2 additional power on our cards. Unfortunately, we have 2 of our really big resources in the Sera and the Spectrum already in hand. Iron Lad would be fantastic if he copies the Sera, or when he copies the Sera. That's going to be so big. That is going to be so much value. You get the reduction on 5 and on 6, and you could play Sera for a double reduction on 6. Massive. Absolutely huge. We do get Iron Lad. What do we have left in our deck? We have Wong. Wong would not be wrong. Ant-Man wouldn't be terrible. Zabu honestly wouldn't be the worst thing. Cosmo wouldn't be bad. I think we go ahead and snap into this. We have the loot cage hidden in the Dark Dimension. We can do Iron Lad on 4, maybe Sera on 5, into something in Spectrum. Maybe we don't do Sera on 5, depending on what else we draw into. And so they do hide a resource in Dark Dimension as well. All right, let's go with the Iron Lad. We have to play it. We have to see what our next card is. If it's Wong, that's huge. We get the early insight. No, it's Hazmat. And so, all right, so they know that we have Hazmat. We can do Sera, and that will allow us to do a Hazmat plus a Spectrum on turn 6, and maybe that'll be enough. We're gonna see. Let's see what else they have. They do have a Sera of their own. We have the Lizard, the Spectrum, and if this is another Hazmat build, I've never ran this, and I've never ran into it in my life. If this is another Hazmat build, I'm going to be just blown away. Absolutely blown away. Absolutely floored. I'm going to do both here to reduce this one. I know that it won't buff this lane up. I don't know. We're hoping that it's fine. We will reduce the cost of whatever they play, or the power of whatever they play. Ooh, the Hitmonkey is pretty decent, but with the Hazmat coming down, it's not going to be enough. We do get the Spectrum coming down. Depending on what they have here, I think we have them. I think we have the 4 cubes. And this Iron Lad, he wasn't super impactful, but he did give us a second trigger of Hazmat on at least 1 card, which is, in the grand scheme of things, not huge, but it's fun nonetheless. We do bounce back with Loot Cage. Iron Lad goes to 6, middle goes to 24, and we do secure the comfy 4 cube victory. Let's go ahead and jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have Lemon Pot Pie. The first location is Project Pegasus, so we get some extra energy here. Not necessarily what we wanted to see, but we do get the benefit of having Agent Coulson, which is going to help us reload our hand. So even though we're playing our early resources, we get more back in return. And then a Shuri into an 8-power Jane Foster's not terrible. If Lemon Pot Pie stole our Iron Lad with Cable, we are going to be furious. Furious at him. Nah, not really. A Teal'c. Oh, man. This is the 3rd time I've attempted to run this deck, and I've had a Teal'c every single time. Like, what are the chances? Let's go with the early disruption of Korg. I know that it's less power, it's less energy efficient, but especially with us cycling our cards, I want them to have as much junk or as much possibility of drawing into just terrible resources as possible. And so the last location is Jotunheim, which is unfortunate for their Sentinel. Let's go ahead and prioritize the Zabu. Maybe we top deck our Iron Lad. Maybe not, but we'll see. Depending on what resources we have left in our deck, we have some pretty good ones right now. We have Rockslide, Devil Dino, we have Dr. Doom, we have Cosmo, all fantastic. All would be fantastic value. Now, they didn't play the resource they got from us, so it very well could be our Iron Lad, but it is not. So the Iron Lad here, now that we shuffled into the Shuri and the Jane Foster, is a little bit less impactful. Let's go with Hawk first, and then next turn we will use the Iron Lad. I want to give it the chance to, if it pulls Mystique, for it to be fine. That's just going to be a personal preference or a read thing. They get a copy of either our Iron Lad or our Cosmo with the White Queen. Unfortunate. So Doctor Doom, it would have been Doctor Doom, which would have been so huge. All right, let's go with the Iron Lad, the Sentinel, into the last turn, and then we have Doctor Doom, which is going to be a comfy last turn play. But let's go with the Iron Lad, see what it pulls. The last card that we played was Sentinel, so it does pull that one. The Iron Lad copies the Devil Dino, which is massive. Well, it's not massive. We don't have that many cards left in our hand, courtesy of the Atelan location, but it's still a little bit of an extra buff. It is still a relatively strong play. Let's go with the Doctor Doom. That's going to go here, here, and here. If they have a Shang-Chi, if they have an Enchantress, they're going to have to choose one or the other, and I don't... Or do we just Devil Dino mid? Devil Dino mid is 9. Not the best, but it's not the worst either. So they're going to have to overcome quite a bit in either of these lanes. Doctor Doom doesn't win us mid, so we'd be relying on winning here and here. And so the Devil Dino mid was going to be the play we locked in. We do get the 1 cube retreat, and this deck for me I think is going to be fairly solid. It's going to be fun because Iron Lad is just that wild card. If he doesn't copy anything great, it's 4/6. If he copies the Sentinel, then you just get a free Sentinel back in your hand to make sure that your Devil Dino's big. Agent Coulson, great. Cosmo's going to stop any counter plays. The only bad, like absolutely bad pull would be Shang-Chi, and that's it. And so we're going to go ahead and take the 1 cube off of this one. Let's go ahead and jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have Exolancer. And I played against Exolancer a little bit ago, a couple of games ago. I've been brewing and just trying out so many different builds with Iron Lad. I played against Exolancer a little while ago, and I know that they are running a Galactus list. Unless they have changed their decks, I know that they were running a Galactus list. And so we're going to go ahead and do the Sunspot. We will follow up with the, okay, Rock Slide gets hit, which is unfortunate. We're going to follow up with the Zabu. Turn 3, we can do an Iron Lad. We can do Iron Lad into this. Oh, no, we get Storm. So we're going to definitely prioritize doing Storm, just to really limit the amount of how many locations they can potentially play their Galactus into. Let's go ahead and lock in the Zabu. They're playing incredibly slow, so I'm guessing they're not used to Galactus so much, because they do play Wolverine, so it could be the hybrid that also runs Destroyer. We'll see. So Fisk Tower, what do we have left in our deck? I mean, we have some solid resources left in our deck. We have the Iron Man, we have the Jubilee, we have the Hawk. The only bad one would be Nebula for Iron Lad to pull into. But let's go with the Storm. The Storm is going to be the most important, just to have on the board and limit where they can do their Galactus. Because then it goes down from 2 locations to only being able to do it in Hell's Kitchen, and that's not super ideal in most cases. So just in case they don't have Galactus, I'm going to use Iron Lad here. If they do end up doing a Galactus and they have like a Null, we have a Super Scroll to kind of combat that. Let's see what Iron Lad pulls. It could pull Jubilee, and that is going to thin our deck. And something that I didn't originally think about with this card is if it does, and then the next turn you have Jubilee again, you can then just use your Jubilee one additional time, and you're going to go through like your entire deck. And so, oh no, it just pulls 2 cards. And so, oh no. And so we get both Jubilee out of the deck and Hawk out of the deck. And so then our deck is like non-existent. We don't have a deck anymore. Let's do, how do we want to navigate this? We can play Jeff and Soak. And then I guess the last turn we just Doctor Doom, because they're not going to be able to play for the flooded lane. They could try to do a Galactus, but it's too little too late. Wolverine going over here is not going to do it for them. And so let's do the Doctor Doom. And it should be pretty, I think it should be pretty straightforward. I'd be surprised if they didn't retreat. That Iron Lad was so amazing. This may be one of my favorite ones. I've tried several, but this ongoing control style build that runs the disruption from the Rock Slide, the Super Scroll to copy whatever they're playing. Super Scroll I'm a little bit uncertain on depending on what we're running into in the meta. The Hawk is huge. The Iron Man, the Doctor Doom, the Jubilee is just beautiful. Let's go ahead and take that one. We'll go ahead and jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have Hookups. The first location is Clintar. So we're going to be able to play there with like Star-Lord and a few other cards if we want to. Now, we do get a Rock Shuffle in. That's going to be, I think, Iron Lad's biggest like detriment is having Rock shuffled in. Because that is going to be so much just random stuff that it's going to make him top deck, or what he top decks, or what he copies, much less consistent. So they do snap on us. The Korg, the Jeff, all very telltale signs of the stature list. I assume they have the Hawk, they have the Black Bolt, they also have Nebula, which is fine. We're okay with all of those. We do get our Zabu, and then we do get Iron Lad. So what do we prioritize here? All of these are 3 costs courtesy of Zabu. What do we prioritize? We could do Jessica Jones, great value. Drax is pretty good. I think we're going to do Iron Lad into Krakoa. And maybe it copies Storm and changes the Krakoa location. Maybe it copies Jeff, and then all of a sudden we have a 4 cost, 6 power, movable unit that is just unstoppable. Oh no, I forgot Krakoa is going to move it. So Krakoa goes ahead and moves him from Krakoa into Clintar, unfortunately. We do play Spider-Man, which is really, really solid. That is going to stop them from being able to play in this middle location on the last turn, so we have this one locked down. They moved their Jeff, similar to how we moved our Iron Lad, and I think we're just fine. I thought about doing Stegron, but that might send it into Krakoa, and I don't want that possibility. So we're going to do Jessica Jones and Drax. I think that should be enough, because they have Hawk. Hawk is only going to be 8 power. Hawk and Rock Slide actually could be kind of scary if they stack them into the same location. You know what? We don't have initiative, so we're going to do Shang-Chi and Drax. That is what we're going to do instead. That way, if they play here, they play something big, we take it out with Shang-Chi, the Drax buffs up, and then this one should be fine in the process. So they play 1 card, they play the Black Bolt on the final turn, but that is not going to be... Ooh, maybe it is. Because we chose to do the Shang-Chi, maybe that's enough. Drax comes in with the 1-point advantage, and we are able to hold down the win. Iron Chad, being the Jeff, was so solid. Like, he has so many cards that he can copy in this deck, and this one's not like the best use case. Most people aren't going to have Stegron. Stegron could easily be like a Juggernaut or something else to force them out of the Storm location. But I think he fits into this deck fairly well. Anything with Jeff, anything that wants to run Zabu, he seems to do fairly well in. And so that is where we're going to go ahead and end the video. I tried him in a discard list, didn't necessarily care for him. He felt kind of clunky. A hella discard, he felt okay. I think it would be really cool if he copies like a Captain Marvel, but the way that 2 Captain Marvels interact with each other is really, really gimmicky. And so I don't think they would function how they need to. And overall, it's too big of a liability. If you have any key resources in hand, it might pull into one of your discard components and then discard your Hella on accident. And so I didn't necessarily care for it. You can always discard it and then resummon it, which then it would copy whatever's left. And I think he's really going to be strong in like control style builds, especially ones that run like a Nightcrawler or a Jeff. But overall, I think he's incredibly flexible. I think he's going to get even better in some archetypes once we have Howard the Duck, to be able to guarantee what he's going to pull from the top of your deck. And so I think Howard is going to be pretty solid even without him, if you have certain resources that you're wanting to find. And so if it determines how you play on that next turn, even without Iron Lad, it could be pretty impactful to be able to see what that next card is. Knowing whether it's going to be a Galactus, a Destroyer, or something similar, I think is a pretty cool benefit. But we are going to go ahead and end the video here. What are your initial impressions of Iron Lad? I think he's very solid. I don't know that he is necessarily broken in anything that we have right now, but I think he has the potential to be very, very scary in the very near future. And so if you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a like and a comment down below. As always, this has been TLSG. Later, guys.